Okay, I think almost everyone has joined, but I will give it a few more minutes for people who are coming in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this presentation of Tilburg University. My name is Mirela, and I am both alumni of Tilburg University, and I am also representing the university today. I'm working with them as well. I will be giving a pretty comprehensive presentation about Tilburg University in a few seconds. And in that sort of situation, I have also planned for a bit of time at the end of the hour I have to give you guys answers to your question. I see some are already coming into the chat, but I will address them at the end. Yeah, so people have kind of stopped coming in now, more or less. So I'm going to start sharing my screen in a moment. Please let me know in the chat if you can see everything and if it's all good. So yes, I would like to once again welcome you to this Study in the Netherlands Tilburg University presentation, where I will try to cover all of the main topics about studying in the Netherlands, Tilburg University, the programs we offer both on the master's and bachelor level, some of the application criteria we have, the application procedures, deadlines, financial matters, including some scholarships. So I will be talking. If anything is unclear, just type it out in the chat. And as I said, at the end of this, I will go through all the messages in there and try to answer everyone. So let's get started. First of all, for those of you who do not really know where Tilburg is located, Tilburg is the 7th largest city in the country, and it's located in the south part of it, which means that the weather is sometimes, especially in the summer, a lot warmer than it is up where Amsterdam and even Rotterdam are. Anyway, it's still pretty conveniently located to both of the major airways and airports in the country, meaning that it's about an hour and a half away from Amsterdam airport and about half an hour away from Eindhoven. It is also located in the Brainport region, which might be interesting for those of you who are interested in IT or larger tech companies, or even just a little bit more into research, because the Brainport region is also called the Silicon Valley of Europe. And it's the place where the highest number of patents are registered each year, and a place where a lot of startups are, but also a place where large companies such as Tesla, Philips, ASML have their headquarters as well. So it's a pretty good place to be if you're thinking of going into business or data science or research. Doing a PhD is also an option. That said, in conditions when travel is allowed and it's safe to travel, it is quite easy to get from Tilburg to different places around Europe. You can see here that it's pretty close to Brussels by car. There are a lot of train connections, and also, to be fair, plane connections. If you go from Eindhoven, there are a lot of easy and cheap flights from there to different cities in Europe, including Rome or Budapest. So not only the ones you are seeing here. That Tilburg University itself is actually almost 100 years old by now. It was established in 1927, but has grown significantly since then, because at the time of it being established, it used to only have a kind of business and theology masters and focuses, whereas now the university offers multiple programs, although we do specialize mainly in business, law, and social sciences, even though we do have some computer science programs, but they are not usually the main focus. Something that distinguishes Tilburg universities from a lot of other Dutch universities is its campus. In this case, campus means that all of the buildings of the university, which are about 15 or so, are located next to one another within the same square, more or less, meaning that students really don't have to travel far. They don't have to go from one end of the city to the next between lectures. It's all very conveniently located, and the spaces between the buildings are also of the university. So a lot of green areas where you also have outdoor study spaces or just space to hang out with your friends. Currently, the university is a mid-sized university. You can see the amount of students we currently have with a pretty good international environment with more than 110 nationalities. And based on the years that I've been at the university and have been working for the university, the amount of international students has only been growing, which is very nice because it allows students to experience a lot of different cultures on campus. And it also means that for international students, such as you guys, if you decide to become part of Tilburg University, and for me, because I was also an international when I was studying, it means that there are other people who have gone through the same experience. It's a bit easier to make friends. You don't feel like you are the only international campus, which is a quite good feeling. As you can see, we have 14 international bachelor's programs, and there are about 50 plus master programs. What that means is more or less that we have 40 or so English taught master programs. But if you take into account all of the different tracks that you sometimes have within the different specializations, the number becomes even higher. On this slide, I would like to propose a few reasons why students have decided to join Tilburg University. These are the answers our students have given when asked, why did they choose Tilburg University and not a different university, not an applied science university, for instance? Because in the Netherlands, there are two types of university. One is an applied science university, and one is a research university, such as Tilburg University. The difference is mainly in focus. Research universities really are traditional universities. They do focus on research, and while they do try to also include not only theoretical, but also practice, so practical aspects of the field you are going to be studying about, it is good to keep in mind that the main focus is on theory, whereas universities of applied science really do focus mainly on preparing people for immediate accession into the job market without this idea of academics. That said, Tilburg University has been chosen for instance, for its strong focus on global issues. As you may have seen on the previous slide, our motto is understanding society. And the reason behind that is that even though Tilburg University did start as a business university mainly, the founder did think that in order to be successful in business, you have to understand people, you have to understand the environment. And that philosophy has evolved throughout the years into one where the university management does believe that even if you are studying business or artificial intelligence or law, it's good to understand the moral and ethical implications of what you're doing. So all Tilburg University students have to take philosophy classes throughout their program, whatever it is, just with the idea that we are trying to teach and raise involved people, involved members of society who understand the implications of their actions and who care about making the world a better place. And there are even some programs that are very specifically linked to that, for instance, management of global issues. That deals almost entirely with such topics. Then the Green Campus is also a pretty big plus. As I've already said, all of the buildings are next to each other. It's very conveniently located. We also have a forest that is located right next to the university. So it's a good place to go if you want to hang out or de-stress a little bit after an exam. Some students chose Tilburg University instead because they were focusing on the rankings of the university, and they do understand that those are important. So it's good to mention, and we do have a slide about that coming up as well, that specifically in the fields where we specialize, such as business, law, economics, and psychology, Tilburg University is quite highly ranked. As a university, it is within the top 2% of education worldwide, but for specific programs, it can also be ranked even higher. There are also a lot of options for extracurricular activities. while you guys will be students, that doesn't mean you're not going to have any time for fun, or that all you're going to be doing is studying and attending lectures. To be entirely honest, there are not that many contact hours, although that's something I will cover in a bit. So students do have the opportunity to branch out and are even encouraged to try out different things throughout their education. Some of the main things that you can do are, for instance, start at the sports center at Tilburg University, which has multiple options of different esports, but also traditional sports such as volleyball, rock climbing, tennis, all of those. You additionally have what we call student and study associations. So the difference between them is, for instance, that study associations are linked to a specific program, and each program has its own association run by students of that program. So for instance, the Psychology Study Association is run by psychology students, whereas the International Business Administration Study Association is run by International Business Administration students. And the idea there is to have kind of a mix of the fun and the useful, in the sense that they do organize fun events such as pub quizzes or just game nights with each other, but they also have events which are more related to networking, or if they go on a trip abroad each year when it's allowed, they also during that trip visit different companies and job shadow there to see how things work in practice. So yeah, the idea there is that it's linked to a specific program. Whereas student associations are entirely run by students, and it doesn't matter which university you are from within the city or which program you are from, you are allowed entry. And there it's the focus is a lot more on they take pleasure trips, have once again game nights, parties, all of those things that allow people to have a nice kind of social experience while at university. They did also try to keep that up during COVID, because even if you are actually, when you're stuck at home, it's even more important to have kind of a social network, to have people to talk to. And that leads me also to my next point about the fact that Tilburg University offers students counseling and support. And it does offer support in the form of psychologists on campus, of course, that students can book an appointment with, who they can talk to about any personal issues they're facing, homesickness, any kind of mental health issues that may arise. But we also have student counseling in the form of academic advisors, who are the people who they can always turn to if you are failing a class but you're not sure why, if due to personal circumstances you really don't have the time to study, and you need to be granted an exemption, like if your health is declining and due to hospital visits or something like that, you cannot go to all of your lectures, or even not anything that serious, even if you're just wondering what to do, you're not sure which elective courses to take, you're not sure if you want to do a minor or if you want to do an internship when the mobility window when the third year comes, there is someone you can talk to. We also have extra facilities such as the Career Center, which often organizes networking events, and that also offers things like checking people's CV, helping out with their LinkedIn, trainings, workshops, things like that. And we also have a language center for those of you who are interested in studying additional languages during their education. You have the option to learn Dutch there, but you can also try for Spanish, French, Mandarin, and about 10 other languages. I already mentioned the international environment, and while it, as you can see, can't fit exactly into one slide, you can a little bit more or less see how the distribution looks. As of this year, we have more than 4,000 international students out of 110 different nationalities. And not only are the students international, the lecturers are as well. And that is, in my experience as well, highly beneficial in the classroom, because it allows you, especially when you are taking courses such as international business or international law, it allows multiple cultural perspectives. It allows you to see things in ways that you may not have thought before. Also, in some cases, it allows you firsthand experiences of an issue. We did have Venezuelan students during the Venezuela crisis, and it is a lot different from just reading about it. Within the programs themselves, it's usually at least about 35% international students, but the number can go up as high as 60 to 80% of internationals within one program. I did say that we will have a slide about rankings and accreditations. Of course, it's good to keep in mind that rankings all take into account different things. The main component is usually the amount of research our lecturers put out, but such as some rankings, such as QS World University Ranking, also takes into account student satisfaction. Customer satisfaction, I guess it can be said, but yeah. The idea is how satisfied are students with the classes, with the support they received, and so on. So due to that, you can see slight variations in where exactly our programs are, but if you just take Times Higher Education, we are 47th in psychology, 20th in law, and 37th in business and economics in the world, which means that these programs are highly specialized and highly good in quality. Now, I will start discussing the bachelor's programs. Afterwards, we will talk about master programs, and then I will move on to more practical matters of admissions and finances. So the international bachelor's programs that I will present in a minute are the English taught ones. You will already know that we do have multicultural classrooms, and it's important to note that there is an interactive teaching mix. So the idea is that whereas lectures might be slightly more static in the sense that you sit down, you take notes while the lecturer presents, you don't have as much time for discussions with the lecturer, even if they do often pose questions. They don't have as much time to go into discussion because there is a material to cover. Whereas tutorials are a lot more about interaction between you and the lecturer or the tutorial teacher. And while lectures are taken by everyone who's taking a course, tutorial groups are kept purposefully small, about 20-ish people, with the idea to allow for more interaction and for more individual attention to our students. And that's also what we mean by small class sizes. But again, that's quite relative because programs such as the Human Resource Study Bachelor can have about 50 people, whereas our Psychology Bachelor usually accepts 600 people. Also be prepared if you are going to be taking a Bachelor at Tilburg University for a lot of group assignments and individual assignments and quite a lot of self-study. That is just the Dutch way of education. There are not a lot of contact hours, meaning that you have maybe 15 to 20 hours a week of classes and lectures, which in practical terms means some days you don't even have lectures, some days you have one or you have two. So a lot of your time in studying is actually spent in self-study. You will not be reminded about your deadlines, but they are there and you will be expected to keep them. We also have binding study advice. This is a Dutch concept and it's only for the bachelor first year. So the BSA or binding study advice is quite binding in the sense that it means that students have to obtain a certain amount of credits. And how do you obtain credits? You pass courses. That means students have to pass a certain amount of their courses in the first year in order to continue on to the second year. If you do not pass your BSA, so if you don't obtain the needed amount of credits, you cannot carry on to the second year of education, nor can you study the same program or a similar program in the country within the next 3 years. So that is how long bachelor programs are at research universities, and at Tilburg University, 3 years. And for that time, you can study a similar program. That said, I know it makes it sound daunting. Most students have no issue passing their BSA on the first try because, it usually 42 ECTSs means that you have the option to fail 3 of your classes and you will still be fine. Now, for our bachelor's programs, this is the full list of them. In terms of business and economics, we have the International Business Administration one, where the focus is on the 4 core aspects of business, such as management, marketing, accounting. and so on, whereas entrepreneurship and business innovation does deal with business, but from the perspective of people who are planning to start their own business and who might want to fully change an existing business. So international business administration focuses a bit more on just working in the business field, be it accounting, finance, marketing, management, whereas entrepreneurship is indeed with the idea of people who would like to start their own business. The economics program is pretty straightforward. It focuses on macro and microeconomics. Our Bachelors of Cognitive Science and Artificial Intelligence deals mainly with both how people process information, so psychology in that sense, and artificial intelligence via things like, my apologies. So it deals with things such as machine programming. And the idea is that you first must understand how humans think before you can map that onto a machine and make that an artificial intelligence. So our data science bachelor is actually quite interesting as well, because it is actually a collaboration between us and Eindhoven University, who is in the city next to us. So it's a joint degree, and it mainly deals with the amount of data currently being generated by users and businesses all over the world and how that can be used for business purposes. We also have an econometrics and operations research program. If anyone is really good at math and really likes math, that is a great program. It mainly deals with creating mathematical models in order to improve business processes. The global law program is a type of law qualifying law degree where students learn how to assess and how to deal with situations where multiple legal systems interact. For instance, think about the leakage of German Facebook profiles in the Netherlands. You have the Dutch law system because that's where the accident happened, the German law system because it's German citizens' privacy who is at stake, and you also have the American legal system because that's where the headquarters of Facebook are. So that's what can be expected to be learned in that sort of program. The online culture, art, media, and society program deals specifically with the digitalization era and what that has, what implication that has for culture and data and media. And then in terms of the theology, it is focused on Christianity, and students actually learn a few languages like Latin and Greek in order to be able to read the original scriptures. For social sciences, psychology is our most prominent program. It is also the only numerus fixus program. Numerus fixus are programs that have a fixed number of places in them. All other programs do not have a fixed number of places. Psychology has the option of doing 8 different specializations starting the second year, and some of them, such as clinical psychology and forensic and economic psychology, are very typical only to Tilburg University. Global management of social issues deals with wicked problems such as global warming. That is to say that it deals with issues that affect multiple people, but that don't have a clear-cut answer. International sociology is a bit more interested in how people interact, have interacted in the past, and also interact now when multiple cultures constantly meet in the same place. The Human Resource Studies People Management program I like to describe as a mix of the IBA program and the psychology program, because it does delve both into ideas of how to run a successful business and how do organizations operate, but it also goes into the psychology of motivating people and keeping your employees happy. You also have the University College Tilburg, which is the closest you can get to the American education system. There in the first year, students take subjects from multiple different fields, and starting from the second year, they choose one of 5 majors. For some reason, a few slides are skipped. However, these are the study programs we also have in terms of master programs. Once again, it's a pretty similar fields to the bachelor's programs, but In the terms of masters, we have a little bit more variety because the idea is that bachelor is a little bit more general and you specialize yourself more in the masters. So the master programs at Tilburg University are generally 1 year, unless you decide to extend the master or do a double degree or a research master, in which case it can go to 2.5 years. The ones I will be covering here are the English master programs. So I will not be explaining all of them one by one the same way I did with the bachelor programs, because as you can see on the slide, these are not even all of them. There's 40 programs in total, and if we have to go through all of them, we need to be here for a few hours. So if one of you sees a program that's interesting on the slide, just let me know in the chat and I can delve into that further. But in terms of business and management, we have pretty standard things such as finance, analytics, management. Strategic management is a program that has been becoming more and more popular as time goes by. We have a master's in economics. That is kind of a continuation of the bachelor's in economics. But we also do have econometrics masters, business analytics masters. In terms of communication and digital sciences, once again, you see a wide variety of courses. And the same can be said about law and public administration, especially the international business tax law and law and technology have been becoming quite popular these days. Law and technology specifically because it tries to deal with the gray area of interaction between technology and man, such as, well, if a self-driving car hits a person, who is at fault? Social and behavioral sciences, here you can see, again, we have psychology programs, we have a human resource studies master. They tend to be just continuations of a bachelor in the similar field. In terms of data science and AI, there are just a few things I would like to mention here. For instance, the master in cognitive science and artificial intelligence is the only master so far that has been presented to you guys that is not 1 year, but it's actually 2 years long. And also here you see that we have 2 data science programs. And there is a difference, a meaningful difference between them. For instance, data science and entrepreneurship is once again a joint program between us and Eindhoven University. And also it is a program that prerequisites people to have a STEM background. So students who apply to this program already have experience in coding and analytics, and they don't need to learn the basics. They can start from a higher level. Whereas data science and society is made for people who come from non-STEM backgrounds, such as psychology backgrounds or a business background or a law background, but would still like to learn how to use data in their chosen fields. So data science and society is that sort of program. So that's very important when you are choosing between the two. For theology, we once again have Christianity and society. So as I'm presuming most of you guys hold a non-EU passport, it's also good to know that after you have finished your studies at Tilburg University, you are granted a 1-year search visa. That means that for 1 year, the country takes care of the visa and allows you time to look for a job. Once you have found the job, then your employer takes care of the visa and then you don't really have to worry about it. You can stay as long as you have a job. The good news is that on average, our applicants tend to find their job 3 months after graduation, but keep in mind that there are high variations between the fields, but usually 3 to 6 months is pretty standard. Now, for the bachelor's admissions requirements, the main thing we look at is your diploma and the English proficiency. In terms of the Indonesian diploma, if you have graduated after 2020, we do accept the diploma you see here on screen. I will not try to pronounce it in order not to butcher it in front of you guys, plus at least 1 year of fully completed academic education. If you will be finishing with an IB diploma, we expect one with a score of 24 or above. For the AP curriculum or the American curriculum, we require 4 relevant advanced placement subjects with at least a score of 3, if not higher. And if you're going to be doing A-levels, we need 3 GCE levels and 3 GCSE A levels, so 6 subjects in total with a score of A to C. So that's the range. You don't have to remember this in your mind. It is all listed at the Tilburg University website. If you search for diploma requirements, you will see this page with even more details. Additionally, you have to prove your proficiency with the English language because you will be studying in English, thus you need to be proficient. We accept the academic IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge C1 Advanced, and C2 proficiency. Some programs also have a mathematics requirement, but that depends on how much math there is in the program. For instance, as you see, there is such thing as a low requirement, yeah, I'm pronouncing the word quite strange today. But overall, the idea is that if you're studying psychology, there is not that much maths in there, you just have statistics. So that means you only need to have had mathematics up to and including your last year of high school. Whereas for econometrics programs or cognitive science and artificial intelligence program, we have a higher requirement. If you are a master's student, the diploma requirement is more or less for a bachelor's degree in a similar field, in a related field. That is because for 1 year, there is no time to get used to the new theories. You already need to have a solid background in the topic. We accept the absolutely same English language proficiency tests, but the score you need to obtain is slightly higher. Then if you are interested in a program in the field of economics and you don't come from a partner university, you also need to provide us with a GRE test. The same goes for the GMAT test if you are applying to a business program. Overall, unless it's strictly specified, and usually for master programs it is not, we don't ask for your GPA. So also it's good to know that this is for the masters. Research masters have their own requirements and they vary per program because research masters are 2-year programs that are supposed to kind of prepare you for a more academic track. So if you want to do a PhD, a research master is a good idea, but they have slightly higher requirements and theirs are more individual. Now I have explained what you need to be eligible, but let's talk about how to apply. So first of all, there is a national system that is called StudielLink. That's where you have to fill in some just general information about yourself, what type of diploma you will be expecting, what type of diploma you've had so far, things like that. And that's where you actually indicate what interest you have in which programs. You are allowed to apply for 4 programs per year, and only 2 of them can be numerus fixus. So for instance, if you are applying for 2 psychology programs that have a fixed amount of places, you can only apply for those 2. The other programs you apply for have to have like free access. So they don't have this type of restriction in terms of the places in the program. The same goes for master application for programs, but numerus fixus programs are a lot rarer in the master level. They're usually a bachelor level thing. Once you have registered at StudielLink and you have indicated your interest in a Tilburg University program, you will receive an invitation to Osiris, which is our study platform. That's where you actually upload your documents. So that's where you will actually be having to upload diplomas and grade transcripts and things like that. It is good to note that while I have covered here the most uniform aspect of application, things that you'll definitely be asked for, different programs have different requirements such as CVs, motivation letters. So always check out our website and the webpage of the program, because there you have a step-by-step guide to application, including a full and comprehensive list of all the documents you will need. The application deadlines are also seen here. If you are interested in our bachelor programs and have an EU passport, May 1st is the deadline. April 1st is if you don't have a new passport, and that's just because of the visa process. For the master applications, the same thing more or less goes. So if you are going to be starting in September, and have an EU passport, you can apply until June 1st. But if you are going to, if you don't have that passport, you need to go for the visa procedure, then April 1st is your application timeline. And some of our programs also have a February intake, so that means that they start twice a year. If they have a February intake and you're interested in that one, of course, this is for next February, this one has already passed. But then you can apply until December 1st if you have an EU passport, or October 1st if you don't have one. Tuition fees and costs of living. So these are recalculated each year. So this is what we have as information so far, but things may change. If they do, it will be reflected on the website. EU students have the statutory fee of 2,200 and something euros, whereas for non-EU students, it can range. So for instance, if you do a research master, all research masters, no matter if you are EU or non-EU, have the same fee, so this one here, but the fees can also go up to almost 15,000 per year. The estimated costs of living are also given more or less in ranges. So the thing is, usually on average, what we have found is that students need about 800 euros per month to live comfortably in Tilburg, but that will highly depend on your personal lifestyle. For instance, accommodation is going to be your largest cost, and the cost there is dependent on, do you have roommates or do you live alone? The more roommates you have, the smaller the rent because it's split amongst more people. But if you are planning to have your own studio, that's perfectly fine and also understandable, but keep in mind that the prices are higher. Food, drinks, and transportation is also an estimated cost, mainly because some people cook a lot more versus others order in or go out, so fluctuations are possible. The visa cost, 192 euros, is pretty sad, so that one is just going to happen once, and afterwards our immigration office pretty much takes care of the process. They tell you which documents you need, when you need them, who to send them to, when to send them. So it's a pretty guided process. And most of the students buy a second-hand bicycle because everyone here just goes on bicycle and it's a lot more convenient. Here you can see a list of scholarships that are specifically tailored to Indonesian students, although there is a whole website page of Tilburg University that deals with the different scholarships. The Orange Tulip Scholarship is actually one of the more prominent ones. It's a lot more popular than some of the other ones you will see here. But the second one is also available for bachelor's, master's, or PhD students, whereas most other scholarships are for master's or PhD students. Very little scholarships are on offer in terms of the bachelor level. But overall, here you see the scholarships. The Global Partner Scholarship just means that if you come from a university that is a partner of Tilburg University, you get a 25% discount on your tuition fee. And as I already mentioned, the Research Master Scholarship, that means that all Research Master students, no matter their nationality, pay the absolutely same fee. I see some questions in the chat, which is nice, and I will get to them quite shortly because now I will be covering the last kind of topic of the day, so housing. Housing is a very sensitive topic in the country because Dutch universities typically do not own their own housing, meaning that they don't provide it to you and it is your own responsibility. We do try to assist you as much as possible throughout our housing office and by having a website where you can also find what we have, which is called reserved accommodation. Reserved accommodation are buildings where the university has made a deal with the building owner, and the apartments there are only available to students. So it's not on the private market and you're not competing with everyone trying to live in the city, only with other students. Even so, there is a very high demand, so you do have to apply on your own, and I highly, highly, highly advise starting on time. April, May is when registration for such reserved accommodations open, so it's very good to start in that timeline, in those 2 months. But yes, starting to look in advance is kind of the best tip I can give you. That said, we are going to be having additional events. For instance, the Bachelor Open Day and the Master Open Day are coming up. We also have the program websites. You can download our brochure here or coming to the booth of Tilburg University here on the platform. You can also contact us at different places or via EduPlan, which is our official representative in Indonesia. So they are also very well versed to answer all of your questions for us, about us and for us and so on, if you decide to go that route instead of using the forum or emailing us, because I absolutely understand that it might be easier to get in touch with someone who is also in the same country. Now, thank you very much for your attention so far. I will stop sharing the presentation now, and I will be looking into the chat to see what kind of questions you have left. So I see the first question was from the very start of the session. Someone asked how to apply if you have WhatsApp. So you apply not via WhatsApp, you apply through the system of Tilburg University. So you first apply in StudiaLink, then in Osiris, and that's how that process goes. So someone is asking if the research master and PhD program in economics are combined. Well, it's not so much that you are forced to do a PhD after you're done a research master, but it is indeed the case that a research master is preparation for the PhD. It gives you information, it gives you knowledge and abilities, it trains you in things that are very relevant to that. So it is indeed preferable to start a research master of economics if you plan to continue on a PhD in that field. So human resource master is indeed a program that has an option for an extended master. If you extend it with half a year and you get into the extended master, because you have to apply for it separately, you are indeed allowed to do an internship. Who hasn't graduated in human resource studies pursue a master in human resource studies. Depending on your previous background, you need to have had some focus of business and psychology just to have an understanding of the basic theories. If you almost meet the criteria, but not quite, you as a student can be offered a pre-master program, which is just a preparatory program of 6 months where they bridge the gaps between the knowledge you need for the program and the knowledge you have. I see someone asking for an email. I did show it on the screen, but I will also post it in the chat in a second. For if English literature graduates can enroll in arts and media masters, just check up on the webpage what the requirements are exactly, because oftentimes they give you need to have this amount of credits in this course. So if you meet those requirements, it's perfectly fine. If you would like to apply for a psychology master in Tilburg, but your bachelor was in a different field, is acceptable. Psychology is a very finicky program in the sense that all psychology masters in the country require a psychology bachelor beforehand. Is it possible to get 100% waiver scholarship? And may I see the bachelor requirements again? I don't think any of the tuition waivers are 100%. They cover up to 70 to 90%, but I have not seen 101. Yes, in a second. Once I am done answering the questions, I can put on the slide with the bachelor requirements once again. There is no quota for international students accepted into any program. If you meet the requirements, you will be accepted. If I get scholarship, is it possible after finishing to work in Netherlands or EU? And how long from diploma want to transfer to bachelor? I'm not sure what the second part of the question is about the diploma and transfer to bachelor, but if you finish studying and in the country, yes, you can work here in the continent. A research internship, and it may have multiple meanings, so look into where you found that term, but usually it means that some of the students who are doing an internship also do their master thesis or their bachelor thesis with that company, so research. Nancy, I presume you are one of the people who had a previous educational background. Yes, if you almost meet the criteria for a program, our admissions office can propose that you do a pre-master to kind of bridge the gaps. But please keep in mind that for the psychology program specifically, only a psychology bachelor is accepted beforehand. There is no way to bridge the gap. You need to be fully prepared. They're asking me now if it's an option to defer. Yes, but that's something to be discussed individually with your admissions coordinator, meaning that's the person in charge of your admission to the university. Once you get admitted, you have to, and if you are waiting for a scholarship or for some other reason you would like to defer, you have to contact them, and if they allow it, and they have allowed it previously, so I guess it's a situation by situation case, but there is a precedence for it happening. If they allow it, then you can defer for a year, yes. Now I will just very quickly, for the person who asked, go back to the bachelor requirements. I think they mean the general overview, so it's this one here. And for the person who asked what email to contact us at, we can be contacted on the email I'll put in the chat now. I am happy to help. You guys had wonderful questions, so thank you very much for being so attentive as an audience. Is there any other questions you would like me to address? We have, I think, yeah, 10 more minutes. If I work here but want to study there, should I submit a recommendation letter for my company? So the thing is, we don't work with recommendation letters. We don't ask for them unless it's for a research master, but even then it's from a lecturer at your university, not from an employer. As I said, Tilburg University is a research university, mainly focused on academia, meaning that your work experience does not count when we are deciding if you are eligible or not. Can a student who has just finished high school apply? Depending on the diploma, as you can see, the National Indonesian Diploma requires that the student also do 1 year of additional academic education to be eligible. Otherwise, if you have an accepted diploma, of course, we would welcome you to apply. It would be great. Is it possible to work full or part-time over there? So it is possible to work part-time. Full-time, I don't think so. Full-time is 40 hours a week, and you also have to study for 40 hours a week. So it's a little bit impossible. But it's possible to work part-time, although please keep in mind, especially if you are going to be a bachelor student, that the first year should be dedicated to passing. Because as I said, there is a binding study advice, and if you fail it, that has severe repercussions. Afterwards, if you are a non-EU student, you have to take out a work permit, and you have the restriction in the sense that you can only work 16 hours a week, or you can work without any hourly restrictions, but it's going to be only during the summer months. But yes, you can work. Nadia, can you give me the link as to where you're finding this exchange program, International Comparative HR? If you have registered in StudiaLink within 48 hours, you should receive login details. If you have not received your login details, please check your spam account. So once you have logins to Osiris after you've registered in StudiaLink, then you have to upload them in Osiris. So for the person asking about the motivation letter free format, that doesn't mean you should write a 10-page motivation letter. Keep it to maximum 2 pages. That is the highest thing that is allowed. Try to even keep it to 1 page if possible. There is technically no limitation, but it's best to keep it to a page, maximum 2. Okay, Nadia, I see the link you've given me. And for the person who is asking for 2 different studies, if you want to take 2 programs at the same time, on a master level, that's possible. On a bachelor level, I think it's technically possible, but it's I have not seen it done. Okay. I see, Nadia, what you mean about the exchange program, International Comparative HR. That's just a very long way to say that if you take an extended HR master, you have the option to either do a traineeship, so an internship, or you can do an exchange. The comparative part is because you're supposed to technically reflect and compare on the differences between your host university and Tilburg University. Stephen, that highly depends on the diploma you're going to get. If there needs to be some kind of academic education for a year to apply. If you're going to get the national diploma, then yes. No, with an IB course, you do not have to. Give me a second, I'll put in the link for the diploma requirements, and that I think would be better able to clear it up. Sure. Happy to help. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Do you guys have any more questions for me? Oh, no, Nadia, thank you all guys for having such interesting questions. It's always nice to see students all prepared in advance. Additionally, maybe it's a good idea to also put a link to the scholarships provided that we discussed a little bit about beforehand. I'll put them all on the slide, but I know that that is not applicable really. So For the master in media, new media, do I need a job experience in media before? No. Once again, Tilburg University is a research university focused on academics. This means that we care that you have sufficient theoretical background, and we never require job experience in the market, nor do we consider job experience when it comes to deciding if someone is eligible or not. If I study there, may I bring my wife and children? If they are allowed to enter the country, then yes, sure. So the thing is, as a Tilburg University student, the immigrations office will help you with your visa. But any additional people that enter who are not students have to go through the process of the country. I do not entirely fully know what the immigration process to the Netherlands is, so that's something that has to be checked out on the government official websites. What is the English language requirement to apply? Once again, that was noted in the slide. We accept 3 types of English proficiency tests, specifically an academic IELTS with a minimum 6.0 overall score with a 5.5 on each part, a TOEFL internet-based with a score of at least 80, and the 2 types of Cambridge with scores from A to C. That is for the bachelor's level. For the master's level, it's almost the same, but the IELTS score has to be a 6.5 with a 6.0 in all cases, and the TOEFL score is a 90. Yes, so there's 1 minute left, so I will be just taking last question that I can see. Someone who is talking about their TOEFL score. So long as you meet the TOEFL internet-based requirement of 80 or 90, depending on the level, it should be fine. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. I hope I have sufficiently informed you. And if you have any additional questions, please refer to our email address or the contact form, and I will also be here for another hour until the end of the event and tomorrow as well in the chat.